Hello and you're welcome to the Big Tech Show with me, Adrian Weckler. Now, why is Peter Thiel, the billionaire master of the universe, who is behind half of Silicon Valley's biggest companies, so interested and concerned about the coming of the Antichrist? And did his recent lecture tour on the topic in Rome, just a few steps away from the Vatican, pass muster with actual scholars? Well, Dr. Massimo Faggioli is professor in Ecclesiology at the Loyola Institute at Trinity College, Dublin. Originally from Italy, he's worked extensively in the US and has written multiple books and essays about Catholicism. He's currently writing another one on the history of the Roman Curia and the Vatican. Massimo, before I ask you about what the Antichrist is, a quick reminder for our listeners and viewers that Peter Thiel is a Silicon Valley billionaire best known for co-founding PayPal in the late 1990s. That was sold to eBay in 2002. He's also associated with links to Tesla, LinkedIn, YouTube, because he's part of this PayPal mafia. He was an early investor in Facebook. He turned $500,000 of an investment into over a $1 billion return. And of course, he co-founded Palantir Technologies, which at the moment is focused on government and intelligence software, very, very big in the defense industry. He was also a major backer he was the first serious tech Silicon Valley backer of Donald Trump in 2016. But for the last year or so, he has been giving a series of lectures on what he sees as the dangers or his thoughts about the Antichrist. Can you summarize for us what the usual definition of the Antichrist in Christian or Catholic theology is, and then maybe how Peter Thiel might be interpreting it?
So Antichrist is a subject that is typically more frequent in the vocabulary of those who are very concerned about what's going to happen at the end of time. So this vision that is apocalyptic, which is very concerned on how does it end, because it's going to end soon. And so the Antichrist, it can be a person, it can be a figure, a force that fights against the true Christ, right? And so that comes from biblical language, and it has been identified with many different antichrists in history. This is new because this comes from one of the leaders of the ultra-technocratic or techno-right force in the United States, which is the vanguard of a big political change, by someone who's interested in theology, who's a self-taught theologian, who studied close to one of the icons of the contemporary theological philosophical thought, René Girard.
Yes.
And so he wants to be seen as a serious thinker, but a thinker who has a lot of clout, who has a lot of connections and an influence, who can invest money in initiatives, in think tanks, groups, personalities. And so that is a very specific way in which we can understand what's happening between technology and politics and religion in America. It's one thing. It's not really separable.
And just from what I have gleaned from the substance of how he thinks about the Antichrist, his core thesis seems to be something along the lines that it may not be an individual figure, but it may be a system. Like it could be something, a system that promises, that seems to be good or pleasing, that would stop climate catastrophe or would stop nuclear war, but that would then enforce a one world government or political structure and limit freedom in the name of safety. And he's kind of pushing, he's named figures like Greta Thunberg or Bill Gates variously, not as the Antichrist, but in the same kind of ballpark of the threat he is talking about. And he's kind of twisted this notion of, this civilizational threat, this Antichrist threat. It's kind of a unique way of looking at it.
It is unique, and it mixes very old things and new things. So the old thing is that in many cases, the Antichrist has been seen as a particularly insidious force because he or she, they are appealing, they're pleasing, they are comforting, they're reassuring. And so it's not a visually scary presence, right? So it appeals to us. And so that's old, right? So what's new is that he sees the Antichrist as that kind of complex of forces that want to stop technological advance because, and this is where the religious idea of technology of Peter Thiel and of that kind of entrepreneurs come in. They have a salvific religious idea of technology as salvation, as the only thing that can save us, that for him means a small group of people, of course, not as a planet, not as a one human family, right? And so there is a view of that anything that wants to slow down technology, that wants to slow down AI or gathering of data as something that can reassure us, but actually it's slowing down the role of technology of giving us salvation to the extreme that I've heard from some people that they think that the next revelation from God after the one that came from Jesus, the next revelation will come from AI. And so AI as the voice of God. That is a directly religious idea. And of course, for them, anything that is between us and that development is Antichrist, because that wants to stop that salvific development. That is very much part of how America looks at the future, where for a certain American mind, only technology can deliver us from evil.
It rhymes pretty nicely with the business case for some of his companies.
Well, yes, that's not a disinterested case. There is a very clear alignment between what he's trying to sell us philosophically and where his investments are. That's not surprising, but it is surprising the appeal and the effect that it had on a certain kind of Catholic intellectuals and elites in the United States that are particularly sensitive to this. And it has been interesting to see how different Catholic cultures have reacted to this. Some can be more convincible than others.
So do you mean to say that some have been receptive to this?
Absolutely, yes. Because they are scared by the Antichrist, which Thiel has identified, the Green Movement, Greta Thunberg, the progressive left, and so on. So they have a common enemy. What's happening, I believe, now and from now on is a yawning gap between this techno-right and the expectations of the traditional Catholic or conservative religious right to be reassured about the real historical enemies of them, which are abortion, which is gender, and so on, against which Thiel and that kind of technocrats, they are not very interested in that. But certainly Peter Thiel, he represents exhibit A of a certain connection between business and technology and politics and religion, which is very far from our European sensibility, where we have kept religion aside in the private mostly, and certainly not connected with technology and the expectations from the future that has become very typical of the new generation of the Silicon Valley elite.
You mentioned some Catholic sensibilities there, but he took this lecture circuit to Rome recently. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, gave a lecture quite close to the Vatican. How did that go down there? And what has been the view of the hierarchy in the Vatican and in Rome to his views on the Antichrist?
I have seen personally the email that some important professors of theology in pontifical universities in Rome have received to attend that lecture. So they had a mailing list of people who can be potentially interested. And from what we know, the vast majority of them, of those Catholics who work for pontifical institutions, they showed they were not interested. So they realized how toxic that was, what was the intention behind that, exactly at the time when Pope Leo is writing his first encyclical, who will cover AI, by the way. But some of them showed up. I mean, some members of the American Catholic circles in Rome, because they have been interviewed at the doorstep of that event. But Vatican institutions, and especially the Catholic media sector in Rome and the Vatican in those days, published very critical articles on Peter Thiel and that idea of God and of religion. It has been an attempt, a ballon d'essai, to see what happens. It was not the first time, because we saw something similar in terms of political goals coming from Steve Bannon between 2018 and 2019 to create a base in Rome. It didn't work back then. We'll see if it works now. But for a certain kind of new right in America, the Vatican is still an important place on the chessboard.
Why is that?
Because there's nothing like that in terms of who can speak on behalf of Christianity.
Right, so they see
to the global audience.
Crucible of, as
Right.
they see it, sort of Christian, also white civilization. They would see on par with ancient Greece and
More or
that
less.
sort of idea.
The new thing is that right now we have the first pope from the United States who knows that very well, that world. Is the first pope who was active on social media before becoming pope. So he's personally familiar with that. He's a member of a religious order, the Augustinians, who have always thought hard about the connection between truth and the human person, how we know things, why it's important to love what we know and to know what we love. So he's the right person from a theological point of view to address that. But the Vatican will continue to be a goal on the map, because there's nothing like that. And the Catholic Church in the United States now is the single largest church. And there's no way politically, culturally around that to control America, the narrative about America, if you don't have some control on Catholicism, on their hierarchies, on their intellectuals.
You mentioned Pope Leo there, and you mentioned his tech awareness. I think I heard someone say that he has worn an Apple Watch before. He's familiar with social media networks. He has tweeted several times. He's also subtweeted people. I think he tweeted before that J.D. Vance was wrong. So he has given clues as to what his own political sensibilities are. But in relation to what we've been talking about and Peter Thiel's views on the Antichrist, I mean, I don't think it'd be difficult for us to surmise what this particular pope might think of those ideas.
Well, we have a fairly clear idea, especially since the start of 2026, when the Pope and this Vatican have become more outspoken on what they see coming from America in terms of the connection between technology and warfare and the manipulation of truth. They have been very direct in addressing some of those issues without naming names most of the time. But yes, I think this is a very crucial time, because what technology is doing, affects, from a Catholic point of view, the very essence of being human. Our dimension of knowing, of feeling, of connecting with others. And so in the Vatican, they have people who are working on this for a long time, because the Vatican was contacted for the first time by Silicon Valley themselves in 2015, when Silicon Valley people came to Rome and told the Vatican, we might not necessarily agree with you, but we want to know what you think about all this. And so there's a connection between Silicon Valley and the Vatican. And so it's one of those voices that I think has something to say to all of us, whether Catholic or non-Catholic, believer or non-believer, because there is a sensibility that I think is very well equipped to filter and read what are the long-term consequences of this kind of technology.
I mentioned that Peter Thiel was an early backer of this president in his first term, 2016. He was the first main Silicon Valley head to do that. As we talk here today, it's only been a few hours since there has been quite a relatively historically heated exchange between the US president and the Pope, mainly on the US president's side. Is it in the Pope's interest to get into a wrestling match with the US president? We know that the US president likes to do that kind of thing.
It's not in the Pope's interest. He was dragged into it, because in 2025, Pope Leo said clearly, I want the American issue to be dealt by American bishops. And in the end, when a US president threatens to wipe away an entire civilization, that's the Pope's job. And so he had to step in against his instincts that are quite cautious. So that's what has happened in these last few days. That goes against his instinct. Prevost was a registered voter for the Republican Party. So he cannot be accused of being a liberal Democrat and so on. So this has escalated to a point that I did not expect. It's part, and this is important to understand the role of technology. So this escalation, it reveals a growing rift between the old conservative religious right and the new techno right. The old religious right had a certain deference for the Vatican, for religion. Donald Trump has chosen the new techno right, which has no deference, no respect for that institution, for that tradition. And I think this will be politically very complicated for the Republican Party to keep together that alliance. And so what we're going to see now is much bigger than a personal. It's an ideological rift within the Trump coalition, and the Silicon Valley group plays a key role in that.
And where do you think it goes from here?
It's very hard to know. What has happened has surprised many people, myself included. Last week, we saw that both the Vatican diplomacy and the US diplomacy, they tried to de-escalate last week. And then on Sunday night late, President Trump tweets and everything goes in a certain direction. So it's very hard to predict. But there's a growing rift between a traditional conservative and religious mindset, set of values, and the new revolutionary technology is our salvation kind of alliance. That is what is splitting apart the coalition, and that might be very important for the political future of Donald Trump and of America.
What's very interesting about that also is how public perception moves with technology over the next few years. The big question around AI is whether or not it, makes us all, wealthier and makes our lives easier, or whether we become a little bit poorer and it kicks us all out of our jobs? And that question still hasn't really been settled. In America, it's probably the world's biggest petri dish for that, because we see the extremes of that most. In my weekly job, I'm reporting an awful lot on job layoffs at big tech companies, where the effects of that are most widely seen. But also we can see it at a cultural level. And it's that question has not yet been answered. So I'm wondering, just with what you've said there, how that plays out. Does this new right, this new alt-right, does that take root? Does that love for tech and AI among the new right, that is not just a wealthy right, but also is a populist MAGA right, does that actually take root? Or do they become the victims of technology and AI? Are they the ones who lose their jobs, the truck drivers, the 21st century coal miners? And do they end up hating technology? And might that affect the conversation in terms of everything we've been talking about?
It might. So that might affect their politics because they lose their jobs and so on. But let's remember that Trumpism is a populist movement, which is by definition something that is very good at finding scapegoats for what happens. And so we don't know where that goes. Now, the Catholic Church has an important role to play here because Pope Leo chose his name after Pope Leo XIII was the first pope addressing the social question of what capitalism was doing to the Western civilization in the late 1800s. And so Pope Leo XIV chose his name because he said in his first day, we are looking at a new industrial and technological revolution. And so he can interpret that. But you're right. In this case, America is the stage for this experiment. And so far, populism was able to find every time new scapegoats and to survive. AI might be too big for any populist to obscure and hide some costs, and that might turn the fortunes of the MAGA movement in a different way.
And if what you say is correct, Pope Leo's upcoming encyclical, if he writes about AI, that will either dampen down this potential conflict or it will inflame it. If his encyclical is understood or taken in such a way as to advocate more control over AI, then that will annoy Thiel and his followers even more.
A famous political leader who was running for election in 1928 famously asked, "What the hell is an encyclical?" Right now, there's no question that those in the Roman situation, they know what's an encyclical and that Pope Leo is writing about this. And so I remember when Pope Francis published Laudato Si on the environment, we saw in some important business-friendly newspapers preemptive editorials saying this encyclical will be communist, will be globalist, and so on. I expect something similar to come even before this encyclical of Pope Leo on AI will be published. I think will be a clash of ideas and of vision on the world. And there's one level of immediate political clash, but I think there's on the horizon something bigger because even China, even India is affected by this. And so this is not just an intra-Western conversation. This is much bigger. But you're right. They will read that encyclical very carefully, I think, in Silicon Valley and their allies.
We will watch with bated breath. But for the moment, thank you so much, Dr. Massimo Faggioli, a professor of ecclesiology at the Loyola Institute at Trinity College, Dublin, for coming into studio with us today. Gav Hennessy was on sound and JJ Clark produced this episode. I'm Adrian Weckler. You've been listening to or watching The Big Tech Show, and we'll talk to you soon.